everyone, this is Carlo with 4GQ TV here with a very special guest. And before I get into him, we have Paul, also known as Cerebral Paul, in the gaming community. And if I say your name wrong, I'm just bad with names. But I'm going to try it. Stimson Snead.
Nailed it.
Yes. All right. Well, welcome to the show and thank you for joining us today.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. So you are part of this really cool thing that you created. Do you want to tell the people what it's called?
Yeah. So I am the writer and director of a little movie called Tim Travers and the Time Traveler's Paradox. A story about a time traveler who creates a paradox, as the title would indicate, and hilarity ensues as he decides to figure out how to unravel the universe with it. The film stars Samuel Dunning, Felicia Day, Joel McHale, Danny Trejo, Keith David, and me.
Now, I will say this movie is a treat because there's a lot of cool stuff that you did in this movie. First of all, let's just talk about the outfits were great. I'm just gonna say that. I think the outfits were fantastic. They fit the characters very well. Not gonna spoil how cool it is, but it's really cool. Like your character is my favorite outfit. It's really awesome. And there
Our customer Taylor does not get nearly enough credit. The great work she did on this. Thank you for bringing this up. She did really great work with all of our costuming on this, including one Tim outfit that we had to straight up set on fire.
Oh wow.
He's probably still burning somewhere too. So yeah.
It still smells that particular cop outfit.
So the way that you did this movie, it has a very unique perspective. It has a humorous perspective, and it has like this very, how do I say this? It has like this natural feel where you just kind of like feel like that you going into the movie in a sense. Very immersive, the way that you did the camera angles so I liked it. The lighting, excellent. One thing that I thought was really cool, and I don't know if you could say how you did this, but all the Tims at the same time. That was a really cool thing.
So, because this is a time travel story and not a multiverse story, we get a lot of Tims on camera at the same time. I think we have one shot where the most we ever had was 20 Tim Travers in the same shot. Uh, the thing we had to do with this effect, because we knew we were going to do it so often, is to try to confuse the audience. So sometimes we're using a good old fashioned split screen. Sometimes we're using deep fakes and like full on CG models on other actors' heads. A lot of the time we're using trick photography and lookalikes. So there's actually quite a few effect shots in this that are not effect shots.
Wow, I would have never guessed that because I thought maybe like you just really filmed him so many different times and green screen
We
some of
did that on certain. We definitely did that on certain shots. And for the record, we hated those shots filming because it would bring the entire production speed to a dead crawl anytime we got one of those. Because functionally, if you have a character giving a speech and he's surrounded by doppelgangers of himself, that means for every single doppelganger, you have to re-record the entire shot, even if all the actor is doing is sitting there and going, oh, oh yeah, for the length of the monologue.
Wow.
Well, I was very impressed with it because I don't want to spoil it, but in the trailer you do show some of it where there is just so many, and Danny Trejo is there, and he's like a little confused in the trailer for a second. But I thought that was really cool, and I wanted to ask you, you put together an amazing cast for this. How did that come about?
Well, I was working closely with my producer, Ben Yenny, and our casting director, Ronnie Yeskel. I always wish this was a better story than it is. But the truth is, when you're working with professionals, it's very straightforward. Our casting director took the script, she reached out to their agents. The actor likes the script. Then we haggle for a few days. Like it's remarkably undramatic. Like we send the script to Joel, and Joel's like, "Hey, I like the script. Here's when I'm available. Can you make that work?" Yes, we can, Joel. Joel, we will make that work.
And I know Felicia Day, you actually have a history of working with, right? Because you were involved with Mystery Science Theater 3000.
I was only barely involved with that. I
You were
was one
barely
of
involved.
many people who helped raise money for that, but I never met her through
Ah,
that. Although
well,
she did know me via reputation. In
yeah.
fact, that was actually part of how she came on to Tim Travers, was she reached out to one of the producers on Mystery Science Theater and said, "Hey, is this guy a lunatic?"
And I guess
And
So
that
no,
they said yes, and she said, "I'm in." So,
yep. I mean, that's clearly what she was looking for. They confirmed my lunatic status and went for it. But no, I mean, I always want to stress how barely involved I was with that.
so
I, w-
in
I
oh, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, my connection to Mystery Science Theater 3000 was helping put money into it for the desire to get to just attach my own name because I love that show so much. It was pure fandom on my part.
that's why a lot of us got involved with the GoFundMe and stuff or whatever it was. Yeah. Just
Yes.
even in my case, just to see the name show up on some of the screens. Hey, that's me. I put in my
Yep.
20 bucks.
So how long did it take to get this project rolling for you?
You would be amazed. So we actually had been working on a different film called Treat Street for several years. And Treat Street was greenlit, good to go. We were about 3 months from shooting when the entire budget fell through due to the apparent criminal activities of some of the financiers that were attached to that project. So the entire project fell through, but we still had a shooting window, just, no movie, but a shooting window and a crew.
Mm.
So I dug through my work, and the Tim Travers short had done so well at festivals. I called up Sam and said, "Hey, how would you feel about making a movie in only 3 months?" So the script was written in a little under 30 days. And then we did all of the pre production over the next 60 days while making tweaks to the script and rolled camera. So this was not years, and this film was all of 3 months in development total. And that's counting the time it took to write it.
Oh wow. So you really move fast on this.
It was that or lose the production window. It was kind of one of those now or never moments. And thank God we did, because if we had hesitated at all, 6 months later, the strikes hit.
Oh,
And at our budget level, that would have sunk the project completely. Like it would not have recovered if the strikes had hit during the shoot. So thank God we moved when we did, or we would not have or the movie would not exist.
So when you say the project window, do you also mean like the set that was already decided, or
Oh,
did you scout that?
that's when you have availabilities for stuff. So it's when you have availabilities for the whole crew. It's when you have some of the money that we raised that didn't fall through is still available. But it wouldn't have been available 3 months later, and the crews wouldn't have been available 3 months later.
So the
And
set look.
independent,
Oh, go ahead.
sorry, and independent film production, it's not like the big Hollywood stuff where they have enough money where they can simply shoot wherever they choose to shoot. Oftentimes on these smaller independent films, especially one like Tim Travers, which while small, is still not a cheap movie. Like this was an expensive little film to make. But you are very much at the mercy of the quality of the crew you can get, the city that you can shoot in. You are at the mercy of the community, not the other way around. So we had a production window in Spokane, Washington, with North by Northwest Passage, which is a great film studio. They're the ones behind Z Nation, Knights of Badassdom, and frankly, countless other movies you've heard of. And this is when we had to shoot. And if we didn't, it would have been trying to find a different state to shoot in with a different crew, but with none of the established rapport or the great community we get out of it. And the Spokane community, I cannot overstate what a wonderful place to shoot it is and what a wonderful group of people these are to shoot with.
So was this your first time shooting with this crew and this cast?
No, actually. I had done the short film with this same crew 2 years prior. And that it was all in preparation for Treat Treat. I had wanted to work with this team so that we could have an established rapport. And right before this, we had done another film called Lab Rats, which is a short which I literally just put the finishing touches on this past week, short film. So I had already worked, especially with my first AD, Cheyenne Smith, and my cinematographer Brian Gosling, 2 times already. And Samuel Dunning and I had already worked on the Tim Travers short, so we already had a really good rapport and way to communicate with each other, and just a really solid understanding of who Tim Travers is as a person.
What would you say was the most difficult aspect or most challenging aspect of making this film?
The time. Film like this should have been shot in 35 to 40 days because of the number of effect shots, the sheer insanity of what's going on, and the craziness we're trying to do. We filmed this thing incredibly in 17 days of
Mm,
shooting
holy cow.
and relatively little overtime. Like, we were just the most expensive, again, because of a film like this, at this level, your most expensive thing is the number of shooting days. And so this was one of those things where we were fighting for every single day we had on set, trying to squeeze stuff in. There was a lot of stuff that had to be cut, a lot of what I call sort of battlefield decisions, where it's I don't have time for 3 more setups. I have time for 1 more setup this hour. What shot is going to give me everything I would have needed from those other 3?
That,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I mean,
And
and
that's
then,
part of
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
well, and that's part of why the dynamic between Goose and Cheyenne and myself mattered so much.
Yeah, I can see that. And I mean, and even the visual effects y'all used too, outside of the duplication thing, which was, was amazing. Yeah, I mean, you guys did quite a bit in the way of big time visual effects as well.
Yeah, we
So
have 540 effect shots. Big shout out goes to Jason McKee and Travis Berry, the guys who run Mode FX, our effects company on that. They were actually housed, their offices in the same building where we were shooting most of the film. And so Brian and I frequently would come to a shot that we knew was going to be an effect shot. And if we weren't sure if we could do it, we would just be like, "Hey, Jason, can we put an explosion back there?" "Sure." "All right, let's light for that."
nice.
And that was our effects prep, shouting, "Hey, Jason."
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I I don't know what to say. I'm impressed with what you got, how fast you did it, the windows that you shot it in, how another project kind of fell through and this led to, this amazing film being made. I think it's a really fun film. And there's some really cool scenes in this that I do not want to spoil, but the interactions between the characters is actually the dialogue between the characters just feels so natural,
it
especially in that small town.
the thing that was amazing to me on set, because half the cast is played by Samuel Dunning interacting with himself. Samuel Dunning has incredible chemistry with himself. Like, it is amazing in some of the subplots we have in this film how believable the dynamic is between Sam and Sam. It was
That
one
he
of the things where even as we're filming it on set, we're all just kind of like, are we actually pulling this shit off?
yeah, yeah, his character comes across as somebody who really in the end really loved himself. Literally.
Oh
But
yeah. I mean, it is a story about self-acceptance.
yeah.
And some of the stuff we get up to on screen, I mean, we had to rely a lot on trick photography, body doubles, split
Yeah.
screen, just to pull in one sequence of 2 Tims talking to each other. There's probably a dozen different effects in a 2-minute long sequence just
I
to
think
sell it.
one of my favorite sequences to me that sold it was one where you actually don't see the action, you just see the reaction of the Tim and the coffee guy. And
Yes,
that's all you
that is a scene that we had to fight for that scene. There was a lot of pushback from multiple levels of production with that, from the tax incentives to some of the producers. That was a scene that concerned a few folks. And it was also a scene that had some of the more tricky details to really pull off the intimacy of the encounter. And gotta say, this is so hard without spoilers, but that was the first scene we filmed.
That was the way you started the wow.
That was okay, I think there was one scene we filmed first for about an hour, down in the radiation chamber. But the scene that you're speaking of was the second thing on the first day of filming.
Oh wow.
Gotta set the mood for the whole thing, I think, after that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if the crew didn't know what they were in for at the beginning of that workday, they sure as hell knew what kind of shoot this was gonna be by the end of that workday.
I think, when you say that they didn't know what they're in for, I think Felicia played really well into her character and the interactions with the other character. She played so well into it. Sometimes I thought I wasn't sure if it was completely scripted or improvised.
There's actually very little improv in the film because of all the effects and all the stuff that we have to do in it just to get it done. We didn't have time to play a lot. So a lot of that's just the actors being great actors and being organic. The joy of working with Felicia was I was getting to cast against type with her because she's known for playing the very sweet, gentle characters, very huggable types. I loved the idea of getting to cast her as someone with a lot of vindictive edge to her. And also just writing wise, it was great. This kind of script and this kind of character like Tim Travers can very easily become that sort of self-congratulatory Rick Sanchez character type where the entire story world is always reinforcing that this character is more brilliant than everyone around them. I loved having Felicia in there as someone to just absolutely take the piss out of him whenever humanly possible, to be just so profoundly unimpressed with him.
I just like in the bar scenes when they start to see multiple, and they
Mhm.
don't react at all. I mean, yes, they're curious, but they're not like going, "Oh my God, what's going on?" They're just, "This is kind of weird." Yeah.
I mean, they're just assuming it's identical triplets who are also wearing the
Yeah.
exact same outfits and sound exactly the same and talk the same.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be a weird thing to see, but you
Right.
wouldn't assume time travel. You would think,
Right.
oh, identical twins.
Yeah. I do. Yeah, I thought the movie worked well. I mean, it really did. It's a lot of fun. And, Carlo gave me all of an hour and a half to watch it. So I'm actually sitting right at the end. I haven't seen the very end of the movie. I'm there, but no. So
Whoa, spoilers! Hold on. What do you know this interview for? You should be watching a good movie. Fine.
I'm far enough along to know what's happening, but that's okay. And I did like, Danny Trejo was awesome. He
Oh
was
yeah, Danny's
fun.
another actor who we kind of cast against type. I'm not gonna reveal what happens with him in the plot, but I do think we get to do some very fun surprises
Yeah.
with Danny.
Yeah, because I'm past the part where they wrap him up a little bit, and yeah, I like what you did with him, the gentle murderer, as it were. Yeah,
Yes. Huggable. I like to think of huggable, which by the
huggable.
way, in real life, very sweet man, just unbelievably sweet man. I hope everyone gets a chance to meet Danny at some point. Just, don't throw water balloons at him.
Yeah.
So also the one thing I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this will be playing at San Diego Comic-Con.
The movie will not be playing. There is going to be an invitation only private screening at the Comic Con, but we have a panel Thursday night, the 25th, 5 p.m. We are in the Indigo Ballroom, which is terrifying but very cool. Where we'll be unraveling the time traveler's paradox, and we will be premiering a Comic Con exclusive trailer that you can only see at Comic Con.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome that you guys are going to be there doing this. I think that's so cool for man, San Diego Comic-Con is a great place to just premiere stuff and get the fans excited for something. And
Well, in
I'm
our
looking.
case, Well, I was gonna say, in our case, it's a chance to introduce the fans to it. We are, other than some of our celebrity talent, we are an unknown property. We're a little indie film. We're not a big studio production. I am amazed, actually, that we made it into the Comic Con because that's such an opportunity for us. But we're really hoping to use this as a chance to introduce ourselves and what this movie is, and see if we can get folks excited for for when it comes out.
I gotta say, given what I watched, and And the fact that you're telling us that you basically did all of this from script to done in 3 months. I mean, I can't wait to see what you guys are going to do next. You know,
Like I sat down and did the math from the time we started writing the script to when we premiered the finished film, which was at Cinequest in San Jose. The entire turnaround period was 18 months from writing the first draft to premiering the finished film.
Oh wow.
and yes, it's an indie film, but it doesn't look or feel like an indie film.
Thank you. Well,
It,
that's always the hope. You always kind of like when you
yeah,
describe your film as indie, that's a two-edged
yeah,
sword.
yeah. But I mean,
Like,
yeah, from like the opening scene, I mean, basically, I was like, okay, this is gonna go weird, but I like it. You know, the
oh yeah,
first time
and it's a
you
weird movie.
yeah, but
One
yeah,
thing.
oh, go
Oh, go
ahead.
ahead, Paul.
No, I was just gonna say, but yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think anybody who likes quirk, quirky comedy in a way, but very well acted, very, and anybody should be checking this out when they get the chance. Actually, now I
Oh,
want to
thank
go
you.
back and see if I can get a hold of it or find the short somewhere because I'd love to see the original short. Yeah,
Oh yeah. Well, it'll probably be a special feature on the DVD.
there you go.
Oh, nice. Well, one thing I want to say is that I think that right now the entertainment industry needs a lot of indie films to kind of hold it together. I think that we have been exhausted from the AAA blockbusters, and there's so far and few in between that are hidden in the theaters lately that it seems like indie films are keeping, the streaming distributions going, the all the other stuff going digitally. So we need indie films. So definitely keep making indie films because this is a fun one.
Absolutely. And get out there and support indie films.
Yeah.
It's we can't make indie films if audiences don't come and see them.
And one thing I want to ask you is, will you be showing this across different film festivals as well going
Oh
forward?
yeah, we are well into our we've already had 12 festival appearances and consistent sold out houses. We had our European premiere at Brussels International Film Festival. We're coming up on our UK premiere, although I can't announce where yet, but mum's the word. We did our Los Angeles premiere, Dances with Films. We've done Phoenix. The film is out there, and it's got another 10 to 15 festivals coming up in the next few months. If folks want to follow our Instagram, they'll find links to all of our upcoming screenings, so you'll have a chance to see the film well before it gets its official release.
Is it going to be at LOL Jacks?
No idea.
Oh, well, because that's at the end of the month, and I'm going to be there. So
No idea. I'd have to check the list.
check the
Hopefully,
list.
maybe I don't know. Ask,
Maybe.
advocate for us.
Well,
Say,
if it
tell
is,
LO Jack to
yeah, if it is, I'm gonna like be pushing for it, or and if it isn't, I'm gonna say, hey, should have been here. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. We're always happy to get out there and connect with audiences. And the great thing about the festival films before the wide release comes is you get a chance to meet the filmmakers and the actors personally, as we tend to show up at the film festival screenings, which naturally doesn't happen for the wide release.
right.
No, that's definitely true.
It'd be kind
And
of it'd be kind of weird if we did. Like if you were streaming it at home and I just sort of showed up at your front door while you were streaming. Hey, would you like some questions about it? I feel like their first question would be, how did you find out where I live? Please get out of my
uh,
home.
No, my first
What's the
question would be,
chloroform for?
did you bring the coffee? Would be my first question. Do you have the coffee?
Oh,
well, just
for
like
those
Paul's.
who know, there is a running joke in this film involving Tim's coffee withdrawal.
Yeah, it's a fun one. And to like what Paul said, there's some Florida film festivals, and there's one I would like to see you at, so I'm going to advocate for it as well. It's a Sunscreen Film Festival in St. Petersburg, Florida. Would love
Oh,
to see
cool.
you guys there. They even do like a nice red carpet, a backdrop, really cool stuff. So would love to see you there because that's close, and it's close to me. So that's kind of why a little bit.
Well, that's
So
always fun.
Hey, look, there I am.
Oh my God, you have video at long last.
Yeah, I've been kind of working on it while we've been talking. So now you see how ugly I really am. The picture's actually better. So there you go.
I'm gonna say it's a good picture.
Notice he didn't correct me. He just said, "You're right. It's a good picture."
Yeah, correcting people is rude. I don't want to mansplain things to you.
So what was the most fun in this movie for you? The most that you can talk about without spoiling it. Something that was just fun.
There is a scene where my character dukes it out with Tim Travers and we end up wrestling on the ground. That was probably some of the most fun I had on set because I got to be on camera actually mucking around with Sam. And the other part is it was so cold when we were filming. It was at the warmest I think it ever got to was 20 degrees, and that was on a warm day. Like we got below zero on a couple days.
Ooh.
And so Sam and I getting our blood up, we were both getting
Mm.
warm for the first time all day. And you can't tell, but we're actually using a pad that is camouflaged to look like snow and concrete so that when we're body slamming into the ground, it's just a pad we're hitting, but you can't tell. It looks like concrete. And the pad also insulating. So Sam and I were just both like, we're finally warm, finally not cold all through the first time all day.
Wow.
So that
I
would be very good memory for me.
and maybe you can't answer this question, but it's something I'm going to ask anyway. And if you can't answer it, it's okay. Do you think we'll see more in the future out of this idea that you created?
If we do, it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah.
I still think there is more to do with the Tim Travers character, but it would not be a time traveler story. I think Tim Travers is an interesting character to explore the themes that this film explores, but I would want to use the character to explore new themes. If I ever did a sequel to this, and yes, I have talked about this with Sam, it would be with the express goal of not retreading anything. We would try to keep it to untouched territory.
I would think him being the super scientist that he is, there's so many ways you could go with this. That other
Oh yeah.
experiments that he'd want to try and stuff.
Besides, he's done something impossible. He did time traveler. Let's do
Yeah.
something else now. Maybe perpetual
Mm,
motion.
mm. Shit. I just feel bad for Potato.
Oh, poor Potato. And what a sweet kid that played Potato. Nice kid.
Nice.
I'm laughing because the scene's in my head now that you mentioned.
Yeah, this is one of those lines where it's like, audience, you're just gonna have to take our word for it. We're talking about a weird, funny scene, and Potato is a person. But we really can't tell you much beyond that. Except yeah, poor Potato.
We want to drive the interest up. They're going, I need to see this now. I need to see what they're talking about. That's
Exactly.
and
What is
if
the
you
story of Potato?
and if you're at San Diego Comic-Con, you have an opportunity.
Just there you go.
Find out all about Potato.
Is there anything that you want to tell the audience that may watch this later?
Uh, Only that this is what happens when you have independent filmmakers trying to be as crazy and creative as they want. This was done with no studio oversight, and we got to do something that is strange and uniquely ours. I don't know that that makes the film good. I'm obviously biased, but I do think it makes for a film that is wholly unique. I don't think there's anything else quite like it when you watch it, for better or for worse. But I do hope, but I do think it's a story that if people come out and see, there is a heart that we don't talk about in this interview. But I hope it connects in a way that speaks to some truths that you don't see often. So yeah,
Like you
come out and
said,
see it, and
yeah,
hopefully I'll see
yeah.
you at San Diego.
Like you said, this thing, a lot of self-examination in both the physical and metaphysical way.
Absolutely. I mean, how do you not examine yourself when you're literally staring yourself in the face?
Yes.
Man, that's
And,
such a cool concept that you created with
and
this.
I also did like the fact that a whole lot of I'm not the same person I was 2 hours ago, because
Yeah.
that actually I like that. When I heard him say that, I'm like, that's a good place for this to go to explain the differences between what's happening with them.
The film really likes to experiment with the idea of personality drift because the moment, even if you have two people who are the same, the moment their timelines diverge, they're going to start becoming slight, imperceptibly different.
Right.
I remember we were on set because Sam had to keep track of so many different versions of himself. There would be times during the split screen shots where he would shout out, "Hey, wait, am I the dumb one or the mean one in this shot? You're the dumb one. Okay, got it." Just so he
I
could
didn't even think
track
about
for
that. But
himself.
yeah, he had to track all of that and had to keep track of, okay, which character am I? Which, yeah.
Yeah. And even though there's about 30 Tims total, there's about 5 who are distinct personalities who are very
Right.
distinct.
Also, I'm not going to spoil it, but I love the way they figured out where all the Tims were coming from. Yeah.
A lot of people miss that joke. A lot of people miss. I mean, conservation of matter. Every time you time travel, there's now 2 bodies where there was 1. That energy had to come from
Come from
somewhere.
somewhere. That's right.
Yeah, conservation of energy. But yeah, that is a throwaway joke in the film. So kudos to you for catching it.
So, one last question from me before Paul asks the icebreaker question.
I wish you wouldn't call it that.
It's still an icebreaker question. So, did you go into any study of theories of time travel when you wrote this?
Oh yeah. I do a lot of armchair astronomy and astrophysics. I just love reading the journals, what's happening in the real scientific community, because I think the stuff that they come up with in real science is so much more interesting than science fiction. And a lot of what I try to do in my own work is to incorporate those real ideas because I don't think they need to be made fancy. They don't need the fictionalized element to be
Oh,
interesting. And Tim Travers is very much trying to do that and dig all into the real science behind time travel. Even though, in real life, all the science behind time travel is why time travel is impossible. But the reasons it's impossible are interesting. And I think there's a story to be made there and ideas to be explored. Although I do
very
feel like
good.
I need to put the disclaimer out there from whenever I've shown this film to real scientists, we get it wrong. Like aggressively, we get it wrong. But we get it wrong in that special way where you have to kind of know what you're talking about to really appreciate how wrong we're getting.
There it is. Okay, so this question, we ask everybody we interview this question. He calls it an icebreaker question, even though I ask it at
It's
the
an
end of the
icebreaker.
interview. He
Yeah, I
doesn't
was going to say at
understand what
the
an
end of the
icebreaker.
interview.
Yeah, he doesn't
Icebreaker.
understand what an icebreaker is. Yeah,
Yeah, this is like the
because
closer
yeah.
question.
The ice is melted. It's pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Only if it comes with black olives.
Ooh, interesting. And that's the first time we heard that with Black Olive answer.
Give it a try. Pineapple, olives, cheese pizza, delicious.
Interesting.
Mhm.
I'm
You can see.
intrigued.
I'm
You need
not.
the little bit of saltiness of the olive to go
Yeah,
against the pineapple, so you get the salt and the sweet together.
there you go.
And the
Now,
same way, like whenever people do pineapple on pizza, they do is pineapple on Canadian bacon. No,
Right.
Canadian bacon is too mild a flavor. The pineapple is sweet. You need to put it with something like a pepperoni that's got some spice to it, so you're
Yeah.
getting the spice and the sweet. With a Hawaiian pizza, you're not even tasting the ham.
No, you're not actually. Yeah.
Yeah, but the pineapple is not the faulty factor there. It just needs something salty to go with it.
interesting.
None of that olives have a strong flavor, like you said. They aren't a weak flavored. Are they a fruit? I don't even know.
No, I don't think they're
They
fruit.
are they a vegetable? What are they?
I'm gonna plead the fifth, lest there's any horticulturists listening to this who will lose all respect for me.
But now I'm gonna have to go look it up. I'm gonna have to go. Anyway, thank you for joining us today. Is there anywhere that you're gonna be that our fans can find you coming up soon?
Absolutely. You can find us on the Tim Travers Instagram, which is Tim Travers the movie on Instagram.
Gonna have to follow that. Yeah, that way I
And
can
that
see
lists
which.
all of our upcoming screening dates, press, photos of me.
Yeah, your character was a lot of fun too. I really, yeah.
Thank you.
He seemed really confused. It was like,
Yeah, believe me, he was confused. Every time I was on screen, I blacked out on set. I heard someone say roll camera, and then I heard someone say cut, and supposedly something happened in the middle.
You didn't see it
Nice.
until you watched the film. Then you went, "Oh,
Yeah.
that's what I said." Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah, basically.